Have you ever reached a moment when it feels like there's no way forward, when every door seems closed and your heart is overwhelmed by the weight of an impossible need? If you're here right now, it's not by chance. It's because your soul is ready to receive something greater, greater than fear, greater than worry, something miraculous. Today, we invite you to step into this sacred space and join in a powerful prayer to Saint Anthony of Padua, the saint known for finding what is lost and restoring what is broken. As you listen, allow your heart to open wide and let your faith rise. This may be the moment that changes everything. Take a deep breath, leave your worries behind, and prepare yourself, because your miracle could begin right here, right now. O beloved Saint Anthony of Padua, today I kneel before your merciful presence, with my heart wide open, with my soul exposed, with every part of my being crying out for relief. I come not as someone whose faith is perfect, but as one whose faith has been stretched by worry, broken by fear, and tested by impossible situations. I come to you in the middle of my struggle, holding nothing back, offering you every hidden tear, every silent cry, every sleepless night spent waiting for an answer. Saint Anthony, wonder worker, you who have been called upon for centuries by those in desperate need, I turn to you now with my urgent request. My heart feels heavy with a burden that I can no longer carry on my own. My thoughts are consumed by this situation that seems to have no solution. The more I try to fix it, the more impossible it becomes. And so I surrender it all to you today. I lay it down at your feet, trusting that your powerful intercession can bring forth the miracle that I need so desperately. You who have been known to find what has been lost, to heal what has been broken, to restore what seemed beyond hope, I ask you now to turn your compassionate eyes upon me. See the pain that has been hidden away from the world. See the heaviness that has taken root in my heart. See the despair that has been growing quietly within me, despite every attempt I've made to stay strong. I can no longer pretend that I have everything under control, Saint Anthony. I need help, divine help, immediate help, miraculous help that only heaven can send. I ask you to intercede before the throne of God with urgency, to plead for me as though it were your own need, to carry my request with the same love and dedication you showed to the suffering during your time on earth. You were not distant from the struggles of the people. You walked among them, you comforted them, you healed them, you preached to them about the mercy of God, and you became a beacon of hope for those drowning in despair. And now, in this moment of deep distress, I ask you to become that beacon for me. Saint Anthony, I confess that there are moments when I am tempted to give up, moments when the weight feels endless, when the silence feels unbearable, when it seems like my prayers are going unheard. But I choose, right here and right now, to keep believing. I choose to place my hope in you, not because I think I deserve this miracle, but because I know your heart overflows with compassion for the desperate, for the hopeless, for the ones who have nowhere else to turn. I am that person today. I have reached the edge of my strength, and I am crying out for a breakthrough. You who once cradled the infant Jesus in your arms, who spoke with divine wisdom, who carried the flame of God's love into dark places. I ask you to stretch out your hands toward me now. Touch this situation with your heavenly grace. Speak my name before the Lord with the urgency that lives within my chest. Let your prayers rise like incense before heaven's throne, carrying with them the weight of my request, the desperation of my heart, and the longing of my soul. Saint Anthony, I know that miracles are not magic. They are not about forcing God's hand or demanding things on my terms. They are about surrendering fully to divine mercy, about trusting in God's perfect will, about believing that even what seems impossible can be turned around in a single moment. And so, with trembling hands and a heart wide open, I surrender everything to you today. I ask for the miracle not just because I want relief, but because I believe in the transformative power of prayer, because I believe that God still moves through His saints, because I believe that you have been given the grace to intervene in matters that feel beyond human hope. I do not come to you casually, Saint Anthony. I come with the weight of a heart that cannot bear this alone anymore. I come with a plea that has consumed my thoughts, that has kept me awake, that has brought me to my knees again and again. You know the details of this request even before I speak them aloud. You see the tangled mess of circumstances, the emotional storms, the roadblocks that have risen on every side. And yet, I believe that nothing is too complicated for heaven to untangle. Nothing is too lost for you to help find. Nothing is too broken for God to restore through your intercession. You have become known throughout the world as the saint of miracles, not because you glorified yourself, but because you allowed God to work freely through you. And today, I ask that same miracle-working power to flow through you once again, this time on my behalf. Let the heavens hear your voice as you pray for me. Let angels be dispatched to intervene in my situation. Let doors swing open that have been closed for too long. Let healing flow where there has been pain. Let restoration come where there has been loss. Let breakthrough arrive where there has been nothing but obstacles. Saint Anthony, I know that miracles are not always instant, but I also know that you understand the urgency that lives in my heart. You know what it means to wait, to long, to hope. You know what it means to carry the weight of others' suffering as your own. And so, I ask you to carry me now. Carry my prayer straight into the heart of God. Carry my fears, my doubts, my tears, my every need. Lift them up with your strong and gentle hands, and ask God to move swiftly on my behalf. If there is anything in me that blocks this miracle, any pride, any doubt, any fear, I ask you to pray that it be removed. If there is anything I need to release in order to make room for the blessing God desires to give, help me let it go. Teach me how to wait with hope, how to surrender with peace, how to trust even when everything around me looks the same. I believe, Saint Anthony, that your intercession has already begun to make a difference. I believe that as I pray, unseen forces are already moving on my behalf. I believe that heaven is not deaf to my cries, and that your loving heart is already carrying my request with urgency and compassion. And even though I cannot yet see the outcome, I choose to rest in the assurance that my miracle is on its way. O Saint Anthony, most compassionate and faithful servant of God, as I continue this prayer, I feel my heart being drawn even deeper into the mystery of surrender and trust. Though my desperate need remains, something within me is beginning to shift. It is as if, in this sacred act of prayer, the weight of my burden grows lighter, not because the circumstances have changed yet, but because you are here with me, carrying my heart alongside your own, holding my petition with the same tender care you showed to every soul who sought your help during your earthly life. I realize now that miracles are not only about receiving what I ask for, they are also about the person I become in the process of waiting. In the quiet of this moment, I hear a gentle voice within me whispering that there is purpose even in this waiting, even in the unanswered prayers, even in the lingering silence that sometimes makes me wonder if I have been forgotten. But I know, Saint Anthony, that heaven forgets no one. And I know that you, who are called the patron of the lost, also help us find what we often misplace: our patience, our hope, our courage to keep going when the road is long. I ask you now, dear Saint Anthony, to help me embrace this season of waiting as a sacred journey, rather than a punishment or a sign of abandonment. Teach me to recognize the hidden blessings that come in this quiet space between my plea and God's answer. Let me learn to find beauty even here, in the unseen, in the unknown, in the fragile hope that continues to flicker inside me despite everything. You who walked with humility and compassion, who listened to the hearts of the poor, the sick, and the brokenhearted, teach me how to wait with dignity, without falling into despair. Let my heart remain open, soft, and willing to trust, even as days pass without visible change. Let my words be seasoned with hope rather than bitterness. Let my thoughts be centered on God's goodness rather than on the fear of what I lack. Saint Anthony, sometimes the hardest thing for me to do is to let go, to stop grasping for control, to surrender fully. But you know well the joy that comes from releasing everything into God's hands, from living not by sight but by faith. Help me now to follow your example, to loosen my grip on worry, to release my fear of the unknown, and to trust in the loving plan that God is already unfolding, even if I cannot yet see it. I know that you have walked alongside many who felt trapped by circumstances beyond their control. You saw the desperation in their eyes. You heard the trembling in their voices. You felt the weight of their sorrow. And yet, you remained steadfast in your trust in God's ability to redeem every situation. You knew that God's love could turn even the darkest moments into miracles of grace. And so, I ask you now to lend me your unwavering faith. Let me see through your eyes, with a heart full of assurance that what is happening in the unseen is far greater than anything I could imagine. Saint Anthony, I know the path of prayer is not always easy. It requires perseverance, resilience, and deep humility. It requires me to come back to this place of surrender again and again, sometimes with trembling, sometimes with tears, but always with trust. And so I do. I return to this sacred space of prayer, ready to lay my heart before you once more, believing that each prayer spoken in faith becomes like a seed planted in fertile soil, destined to grow in its due time. Help me to hold on to hope, even when the winds of discouragement blow fiercely around me. Help me to remember that God's delays are never denials, but often divine preparations for something greater than I could ever expect. Help me to resist the temptation to abandon my prayer out of frustration or impatience. Teach me that waiting is not a punishment, but a pathway to deeper wisdom, to stronger faith, to greater compassion, for myself and for others who are also waiting for their own miracles. As I continue to pray, I ask you, Saint Anthony, to cover this situation with your protection and your prayers. Guard it from forces that would seek to destroy my hope. Guard my heart from despair. Guard my mind from the lies that tell me I am forgotten, unloved, or beyond help. Wrap this need in your loving care and shield it with the same love you showed to those who sought your aid throughout your life. Even now, as I wait, I begin to see small signs that I am not alone. A sudden peace in the midst of chaos, a kind word from an unexpected place, a gentle reminder of God's promises. These small lights in the darkness assure me that the miracle is coming, that heaven is at work even in the silence. O Saint Anthony, give me the grace to wait well, to wait with a heart that is not only longing for a change in my circumstances, but also longing for a deeper union with God. Let me grow in patience, in wisdom, and in love through this process. Let this waiting not harden my heart, but soften it. Let it shape me into a person who trusts, who believes, who loves beyond what I thought possible. You, who are called the Wonder Worker, I know your intercession is powerful, but I also know that you are not only the saint of quick fixes or urgent rescues, you are the saint who guides souls back to God through every stage of their journey, even the long, winding paths of waiting and transformation. Help me now to walk that path with courage, knowing that I do not walk it alone. Today, even though the answer has not yet arrived, I choose to praise. I choose to thank God for what is already in motion. I choose to trust in your prayers, knowing that you have already carried my request into the heart of heaven. And I promise that when the miracle does come, whether tomorrow or far in the future, I will remember this time not as a season of despair, but a holy season of preparation, a time when my heart was being made ready for the blessing to come. Thank you, Saint Anthony, for staying by my side in this time of waiting. Thank you for reminding me that hope is never wasted, that prayers are never in vain, and that miracles often begin long before we can see their fruit. Thank you for helping me to release my fears and to embrace the peace that comes from knowing that heaven is already moving. I surrender everything once more into your hands, believing that my miracle is not only possible, but already in progress. O Saint Anthony, beloved intercessor and faithful servant of the Most High, as I arrive at the final part of this heartfelt prayer, I find myself standing in a new place, a place where my heart is no longer overwhelmed by fear, but rather lifted by hope. Though the situation I face remains unresolved in the visible world, within me there has been a miraculous shift. The storm of anxiety has begun to calm. The shadows of despair have started to fade. In their place, peace has taken root, a peace that surpasses all understanding, flowing not from the change of my circumstances, but from the certainty that heaven has heard and that my miracle is already in motion. I no longer feel alone in this battle, Saint Anthony. Your presence has surrounded me like a protective shield, and your prayers have become a soft, steady heartbeat within my soul, reminding me with every moment that God's love is greater than every obstacle I face. I understand now that miracles are not merely acts of divine intervention. They are sacred encounters that change not only the world around us, but also the very core of our being. Through this prayer, I have come to see that the true miracle often begins inside the heart, long before it manifests outside in the physical world. In this sacred moment of surrender, I let go completely of every remaining doubt. I lay down every lingering fear. I release every desire to control the outcome, trusting fully that God, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, is already working all things together for my good. And I thank you, Saint Anthony, not only for the miracle itself, but for the journey of prayer that has brought me here, for the strength I have gained through surrender, for the faith that has deepened through waiting, and for the love that has grown through trusting. With every breath, I offer you my gratitude. Thank you for listening to the cries of my heart when no one else could understand. Thank you for standing with me through the darkest hours, through the days when hope felt too heavy to carry. Thank you for reminding me again and again that nothing is ever truly lost in the eyes of God, that every prayer, every tear, every whispered plea has been collected and treasured by heaven. Now, with a heart full of hope and eyes fixed on the future, I begin to speak not as one who is still begging for a miracle, but as one who believes that the miracle has already been granted. I speak words of thanksgiving in advance, knowing that God's timing is perfect, and that everything I have prayed for has been placed securely within the hands of divine love. I no longer ask, but I thank. I no longer plead, but I praise. I no longer fear, but I trust. Saint Anthony, I make this promise to you today. When the miracle arrives, whether in the way I expect or in a way I cannot yet imagine, I will not keep it hidden. I will not forget this moment of prayer, nor the peace that has filled my heart along the way. I will speak openly of God's goodness. I will share my testimony so that others may also find hope. I will proclaim your powerful intercession, so that those who are lost, afraid, or desperate may know that they too have a friend in heaven ready to carry their prayers before the throne of God. With every fiber of my being, I now declare, my miracle is coming. My heart is ready. My spirit rejoices. I trust, I believe, and I give thanks. Amen. Amen.